Hey there guys, Kieran here with another episode of Kieran's Movie Space, the podcast where I talk about the latest movies and TV shows. In this episode, I'm going to be reviewing the full second season of Westworld, which aired its final episode on HBO last night. I'm going to try my best to keep this review away from major spoilers, but I will probably talk about specific events and episodes, so if you've not seen the full season, I'd recommend saving this review and coming back when you've finished the season. This is my first ever TV show review, but I'm going to do it in the same way that I do my movie reviews, which means I'll talk about what I liked about the season first, then I'll move on and talk about some of my issues with the season, if there are any. But for now, let's get into what I liked about Season 2 of Westworld, starting with the characters. Season 1 of Westworld did a really good job of introducing us to the world and to the characters, and at the start of this season, I did have expectations of where I thought a lot of these characters would go, but Season 2 does a brilliant job of taking the characters and placing them on a new journey and taking them in a different direction. Dolores doesn't become what I expected at all. Her arc in this season is really exciting, and it's really fun to see Evan Rachel Wood bring more personality to Dolores and bring some darkness to that character. Ed Harris is yet again awesome as the Man in Black. He was probably my favourite character in the first season, and he continues to be a relentless badass. And in a lot of ways, it's even more fun to see the Man in Black loose in this world when he knows that the host can hurt him back. For years he's been able to shoot them, rape them, kill them, and do whatever he wants to them without them doing anything back. But now they can actually shoot him back, they can kill him if they want to, and that brought out a really new and a really exciting side to that character that I really loved in this season. Bernard also went on a really surprising and a really fun journey this season. As the audience, we kind of experience the events of this season in the same way that Bernard does. He's sort of confused and has everything muddled up in his mind, and so do we, so it was really cool to kind of watch the show through Bernard's eyes and see it the way that he sees it. I'd say more than that, but I don't want to spoil his storyline in this season just because it is a really interesting one and a really entertaining one, and it's better, I think his storyline's better if you just know nothing about it. So I'll just move on to my favourite character of the season, which was Thandie Newton's Maeve. I really liked Maeve in season 1, but she never really stole the show for me. I remember being more interested in the Man in Black story, but from the first episode of season 2, I was in love with Maeve's storyline and her as a character. I adored all of the Shogun World stuff. Everything they did with her daughter was beautiful and heartbreaking. There's that one scene where she's walking through the field and she sees her daughter for the first time. That's probably my favourite scene in this entire season, and I was literally crying my eyes out. It was so well executed, and Thandie Newton just nailed her performance in that scene. The music was perfect. It really is one of the best scenes I've seen on TV this year. We get to see a lot of new characters introduced in this season as well, and I think the writers were really smart about the new additions and made it so that we really cared about them and their stories. It never felt like we wanted to get away from the new characters and spend time with the guys that we already care about. That happens a lot of the times when new characters are introduced. You just want to go off and be with the characters that you already know, but that never happens with this season. So it was cool to kind of get to know some of the new additions to this massive collection of characters. There are way too many to go into specifics and talk about all of them, but I'd say the most notable of the new additions are Erika Chetta, who we get to spend an entire episode with pretty much. We learn that he's been a major player in this game from the beginning, but we've been too focused on everything else to even notice. And he was just an awesome character, a really well written character, and Zahn McClarnon did a really wonderful job of making us care about his character. Then there's Emily, who's played by Katja Herbers, who does a really great job with that character. And Emily brings a really cool dynamic to the show. Her scenes with Ed Harris are really fun to watch. They're some of the best scenes in the season, but I can't really say anything more than that because of spoilers, so I'll just move on and talk about something that I really loved about this season and the first season, which is kind of all the questions that this show makes you ask yourself. Just like the first season, this season of Westworld continues to ask a lot of questions. Questions about what we would do in this situation, about what's right, what's the morally correct thing to do, and I loved that this season made us ask those questions. The best kind of entertainment is the kind that keeps you thinking, the kind that makes you question things. I mean, you can go enjoy a Transformers movie for 2 hours, but chances are you won't still be thinking about it 2 or 3 days later. I'll still be thinking about Westworld in a week or in a month or in a year because it made me think and it asked me some really intriguing questions. The balance of the characters was something that was really well handled in this season as well. Like I said, there are a lot of characters in this season and they managed to balance the time we spend with each main character really well. I absolutely love Game of Thrones, but I hate it when you sometimes have to watch an episode that just focuses on one of the characters and you don't get any development with the other storylines or the other characters. That doesn't happen with Westworld. I mean, there are definitely episodes where we get more of one character than the others, but for the most part it's balanced really well and you never feel like you've missed out on a fun and interesting story with one of the other characters. Another thing that I really loved about this season was the different timelines that they had going on throughout. That was something that I liked about season 1, but I'd say they did an even better job of it in this season. Obviously I can't say too much without spoiling anything, but it's really cool to kind of work out what's going on at the end of every episode. You know, when the credits roll, you've just got to sit there for about an hour and you've just got to think about what happened and when it could have happened and how it connects. And I really loved that aspect of the show. There's just so much I loved about this season. The scale of it was great. There were a few moments throughout the season where it felt like you were watching an epic scale movie. Some of the battle scenes and the horse riding scenes, they were just great and they were just so epic and big that it was quite surprising sometimes when you remembered that you just sat in your living room watching a TV show. The music was great. Ramin Djawadi yet again hits it out of the park. It's scary when it needs to be. It's exciting when it needs to be. And there are some tracks in this season that will have you literally breaking down in tears. As I already said, the performances were great, the visuals were yet again fantastic. This is one of the best looking shows I've ever seen. And I think that's pretty much it for what I loved about Westworld Season 2. I'll probably think of 2,000 other things after I stop recording, but for now I think that's it. And I would usually move on and talk about some of the stuff I didn't like, but I can't think of anything that I didn't enjoy or love about this season. I know that sounds unrealistic, but looking back at the entire season, there's nothing that I would want them to change or do differently. And the fact that I wanted to immediately jump onto this podcast and talk about it, or just that I wanted to rewatch the entire season, that tells me that I loved this show. So instead of talking about what I disliked, I'll just quickly give my overall thoughts and my score for the second season of Westworld. Overall, Westworld Season 2 was everything that I wanted to see from the second chapter of this series. If you knew me, you'd know that I rarely call things perfect, but I think this show and this season might be the rare piece of television that reaches perfection. The characters are great, the performances are out of this world, the storytelling and the writing are unlike anything we've seen before, and it leaves us starving for more, which is what every great TV series should strive to do. All of those reasons and many, many more are why I'm going to give Westworld Season 2 the perfect score. It's a 10 out of 10, and with that perfect score comes the end of my Westworld review. Please let me know what you thought of the show in the comment section below, and please make sure you like and share this episode. You can listen to Kieran's Movie Space on iTunes, YouTube and Stitcher, so make sure you check it out on all of those platforms and hit that subscribe button. Again, thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.